this war about these nuclear bombs. It's like, man, yeah, I seen it today.
Yeah, yeah. President saying, calling somebody Rocket Man and saying he's actually destroy the entire country of every man, woman, child, dog, and cat. It's just
See, that's the thing. That's terrible because if it's a conflict with that person, it should be with that person, not with the whole country. Those are innocent people, and that goes both ways.
exactly,
You know.
exactly.
So
Plus, let's do diplomacy first before we start acting like the tough guy who can destroy a country.
yes.
Anyway, we should move on quickly, huh?
Yeah.
we could be at this for a long time.
Yeah.
So let me see. So I'll share my screen here, and we can go through this. Should be fairly quick.
Okay.
So just clean up my. So yeah. So first we talk about what we completed during the sprint, and we did 2 stories related to jobs, which is pretty much what we're working on now. One is adding job shifts, or that actually should say job types, I think, but we'll look at both types and shifts.
Okay.
Done by Hanesh, and then I did some salary details story as well. Let me show you what those look like. So here is, let me just hide this.
Do you still need me to mute my earbuds or no?
No, it's fine. No problem at all. So I think last time we talked about the ability, if I don't have a job location and I'm a company person that's appropriate for my job, then I can add a new location on the fly. So that's there. So one thing that's been added is the salary business here, salary details. So salary range. I think the request was for minimum and maximum salary range. So you can enter, let's say, $10 to $20 per hour, or you could say, I want to pay $350 to up to $700 a week, depending upon experience, etc. So, and we have obvious. So let's say $15 a share is minimum, and my maximum. I make a mistake. I enter $12. Excuse me, $12 an hour. And I click update. It's going to go back. It says max salary cannot be less than minimum salary. So we have all the standard, the common sense checks on this stuff. If I type in, let's say, just a text field instead of a number for maximum, and I hit update, it'll say, again, max salary is not a number, and max salary can't be less than minimum salary. So it'll do all these nice checks for us. So if you want to do an annual salary, you can go up to, I think, 6 figures. You can go to $999,999. So if you can get $1 short of $1 million, also, it'd be a nice job to get, right? Also, you don't need to enter maximum. You only need to enter minimum. So if you leave maximum blank, it's okay. So let's go ahead and update. And sure enough, it did update. Minimum salary is that. Pay period is annually. So when we show the job, we show the salary details here. So that's basically how that works. So again, you can select the pay period here. And it's pretty obvious what this means. So I didn't have a label that says pay period. It's clearly hourly, weekly, monthly, or annual pay, which I think is what the employer was asking for. And then another thing the employer was asking for, I think, was that we didn't have last time, correct me if I'm wrong, was job type. So the type of job, or maybe we did. Let's look at both of those. I got a full-time job, and you can select multiple. And if you say full-time and part-time, well, we're not going to filter that out. You're going to have to notice your own mistakes, so you have to fix that. But let's say you have a full-time internship that pays a salary. So you can say all those things. And up here, you may put the salary in fact, so that's great. Also, I think we already talked about this, but if not, if we didn't do this before, shift now has changed. There were 3 different types of shifts, I think, day, evening, and night. And I think the employer comment that you got back was they'd rather have something like morning shift, day shift, afternoon, midnight, and swing shift. And these can be changed, by the way. If the employer says, no, that's not what I meant these other shifts, that's not a problem. So you can actually specify. I think the other thing was being able to specify more than one shift type. So you may have a job that sometimes is a morning shift and sometimes is a day shift. So you put both of those in as well.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we're at there with jobs at this point. So major changes this sprint was this salary stuff, and I think job types. So, and then job skills, we've always had that there, you know, that kind of thing. So, and you can add job skills on the fly. Yeah, so you can't do this on this form if you remember. Say I have a job skill that doesn't show up in the list here. Then what I can do is I can save my updates so far, and I go back home, and I have this job skills tab. I think we saw this last meeting.
Okay.
And I can add another job skill for my company. This is just for my company, not for all companies that are clients of the agency. So I can add a job skill that's missing. I can go back to the job, and I can add that additional job skill to that job. So that's available to them as well. So that's pretty much how it works at this point. I'll go back and we'll talk about, we'll leave that up for now. So that's what we worked on and delivered. Now, just so you know, right now, what I'm demoing out is out of our staging environment, which is on, it's out there in the cloud, but it's not on my laptop here, but it's not been moved into production. So these two stories won't show up in petsworkforce.com until Hewitt gets back from vacation, which I think next week. He's the one who manages moving things to production from the staging environment. But it's ready to go. It's out there in our staging server, and it's working fine. So it'll be available next week. So what are we working on the current sprint, which started this Monday, I guess? So I think we're working on the remaining things that were asked for by the employer. So we're specifying language requirements for a job. I think we talked about that before. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to add a field where they can type in just text, as opposed to select languages from a list of languages, etc. So that they can just type in whatever they want. They could type in must be proficient in written, spoken English, Spanish, let's say. So that's how we're going to handle it. Very simple. And if they come back and says, I'd rather be able to select from a list of 20 languages and then indicate proficiency, beginner, intermediate, advanced, whatever, well, we can make it fancier. The other thing is, another thing is specify minimum education attainment. So we're going to have a box where they can select the minimum, and it would be exclusive. You select one and only one of these. They could say, for this job, you need a high school diploma, you need a graduate high school, you need an associate's, bachelor's, master's, PhD, or other. So they can select one of those. And then they'll also have a field where they can enter text. So if they select other, for instance, they'll be able to explain in an additional field what they mean by that. Or if they say master's degree in their selection, in the additional information, they could say, I want a master's degree in this specific field, biochemistry, or whatever, that kind of thing. So that's educational attainment. Add questions to job. So that's another request from the employer, which is they want these questions. So far, anyway. Are you authorized to work in the U.S.? Are you willing to take a drug test? And would you be willing to have a background check performed? So we'll add those as optional, so that the person who's creating the job can specify, include these, all of them or one of them or none in the job. And lastly, add licensors requirements for jobs. That's what we were talking about in email this morning. So we'll add these initial list of licenses here. So the job creator, the person editing the job, can specify, I want to list that the job requires one or more of these licenses, and they'll select which ones they want to appear on the job description. So it could be that you could say, we can accept a limited licensed professional counselor or a fully licensed professional counselor, either one. So they may want both of those in there as an indication that either one will be okay. So with those four, so if we look at where we're at with the stories that came to us from the client, your client there. So we've delivered 5 of these so far. And the other ones, we've got stories out there to create them. So experience level, we just talked about that. Actually, that's been delivered, excuse me. The education level, we just talked about that. Licenses, just talked about that a second ago. Languages, these are the 3 questions that they asked us to include. So the 4 stories that we're planning on working on this sprint cover all remaining items that came from your employer client. I can't guarantee we'll be able to finish all 4 stories this sprint, but they're all in the queue now and available to be worked on. So that's where we're at this point.
Okay.
Any questions on that, or?
Is there a field where you can add, like you can type in text with the license, or no? It have to be pre-populated. Which one?
Well, we haven't built that yet, but what we could do is, so the idea here is that the job editor would say, include on the job description, must have this license, it must have that license, that kind of thing. So okay. I think the idea is in this job description, they could actually type in, you know, any context regarding what the license requirement means. They could enter that into the job description.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it might be easier to do it that way rather than have yet another text field, separate field. Yeah, this is one of those things where as they actually start using it, we'll learn a lot more exactly what they need. So one of the things we hesitate to do is try to build things until we get real feedback from the user, because we almost always get it wrong if we go beyond what the user has told us. You know, so painful experience. So the other update, I think, is that this www.petsworkforce.com, I just checked it this morning. You still need to enter the www. But I know that's easily done, and I don't have access to that, but Hua does. And I think his email said that he'll get that done when he gets back from vacation. So there's absolutely no reason one should have to type 3 W's. No website required.
He said no reason whatsoever.
No website requires that anymore, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, huh? I thought I don't know. I thought it was just the GoDaddy accounts that do that. But
no, nobody makes their users do that anymore. There's really no reason to require that. And to tell you the truth, if I saw a website that tells me to go to this website, I would just type in petsworkforce.com, because I'm assuming I don't need the W business, and it would fail. And I'd say, oh, the website must be down. That's the problem.
Yeah.
We don't want that to happen. I guess questions for the client. So he will put this in here, I think, and I can send this to you in email. You could look at this as well to confirm that this is what you want. So remember, you had said that you were looking for, when I finish work associated with a task, I'd like the task to be automatically marked as closed or finished, right? Correct. Yeah. So what he has done is broken down what current task types we have here. So as an example, he says, when we create a job seeker, when that event happens, what happens, there's 2 tasks created, entered in the system that the agency admin has. A task to assign a job developer and a task to assign case manager. And the agency admin says, okay, this task here for a job developer, I'm gonna assign that to Chet because he's a job developer. And the case manager I'm gonna assign to Jane because she's a case manager. And now Chet and Jane each have a task in their task list to do this. And at some point, Chet or Jane marks, it's in progress, I'm working on it. And then they go ahead and they actually assign, say, themselves to that job seeker as a job developer or case manager. At that point, these actions happen. So I'm a job developer. I assign myself as a job developer to the job seeker. And then what you want is for that should automatically complete the first task, which is the task to assign a job developer. That's what you're looking for, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so that's how, so we have a task to assign a job developer. Job developer assigns themselves to the job seeker. We automatically go back and we close this task because we see that assignment has occurred.
Correct.
So that's what he's laid out here. Another example, company registers on the platform as a potential client, and there's a task to accept or reject the company as a potential client. And then let's say you review the credentials of the company, et cetera, and you accept or reject that registration, what will happen is this task will then be closed automatically. Regardless of whether you accept or reject, it doesn't matter, you completed the task. And so that's how that would work. So this is, you can see it's fairly obvious. We have a task to do something. when that something is done and we can detect it's done, we automatically close the related task. So is that essentially what you're looking for here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah, so I just didn't want to, double the work.
Yeah, and people might forget to go back and close the task, and they queue up and start bugging people, why isn't this done? Well, I did it a month ago, but I forgot to close that task. You know how it is.
Yep.
That's the way life goes sometimes. All right, so that's pretty much it for now. We're doing pretty well with a skeleton crew here. Hinesh actually has moved to Australia, so he's working on the project, but very, very limited time on his part, so I'm trying to get some other people involved as well.
Okay.
So
thank you for that.
We're at least, sure. We're at least continue to make progress. My goal this sprint is to finish up these 4 requirements so that we can go back. You can go back to your employer and say, okay, we've done what you've asked us to. At least the developers think they've done what you've asked, and we'd like you to start using it again and give us further input. Yep. All right, so I guess that's pretty much it. So any questions at this point, Chet?
None at this moment.
Okay. All right. So priorities for next sprint, well, I just told you what they are. Finish up the employer requirements, and let's get back on a pilot program here.
Okay.
And I think that's pretty much it. So I guess next is just confirm our next meeting, which would be 2 weeks from now. It's at the October 4th. Is that good for you?
Calendar. Yes, I'm going to put that on my calendar right now.
Okay, good. Great.
Meeting.
Yeah, I think we ended up shifting to Wednesday for some reason after I think Hugh had trouble with Tuesdays. And anyway, Wednesday seems to be good for everybody at this point.
All right, October 4th. Got it.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Okay.
All right. Once we get those stories done, do you think the employer is ready to jump back on it and start using it?
Yes. It would have been good if they could have used it today. Today they had a job fair, so most definitely they're ready.
Oh, okay. Good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And see what else we need to do to make it really work for people, as opposed to getting in the way, add value.
Okay.
All right. Good.
And let me know if any time they can just test it out before it's actually launched. I mean, if you say, hey, just try it out or something, or if you want them to glance at it, just shoot me an email or give me a call.
Okay. All right. That sounds good.
Right.
Oops. Mod. Somebody just joined and dropped real quickly there.
Okay.
Yeah. So sounds good, Chet. So we'll be in touch 2 weeks from now or earlier if something comes up.
Okay.
And hopefully we get back in business on the pilot real soon.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Chet.
All right. You take care.
You too.
All right.
Bye now.